Here at RoMac Lumber and Supply, your safety is very important to us, and we take our safety rules and policy very seriously. First and foremost, we will never ask you to do anything that is unsafe. And if you see an unsafe condition anywhere within RoMac Lumber, please contact your manager, our safety director, or one of the company's executives. RoMac Lumber has created this safety video to help you. Please look at it closely, and if there's anything you don't understand, please discuss it with your manager or the company's safety director. Once again, it is important that you stay safe and accident-free, because the only trip you should make from work is to home, not the hospital. Be safe, and now let's look at the video.
Driver safety and training video before leaving the yard. Each day before you leave the yard and make your first run, you must complete your Department of Transportation pre-trip inspection. Ensure that any truck that you operate has been checked before departure. Once that is completed, turn in your inspection sheet and inform your yard supervisor of any unsafe conditions that exist on your tractor trailer and/or mounted forklift. Next, you need to double check the load. Check that the load is in the correct spot on the trailer, that it is the correct material, and that it is not overweight. Be sure the load is properly balanced. Next, you need to strap the load down. When tossing the straps over the truck, you should have a spotter on the other side to make sure that there is no one that will be in the way of the incoming strap. Never over-tighten the straps, as this can damage the material. Next, make sure you have a ticket with all of the material you are delivering to the job site. Then, make sure that you know how to get where you are going. A little pre-planning can save major headaches down the road. Also, check with your yard supervisor to make sure that you are within the 100 air mile radius rule. If you are outside of this rule, you must keep a written log for that trip and 7 days prior to the trip. Lastly, do one final inspection of your truck. Make sure the tractor trailer and forklift are completely secured and ready to go. En route to the job site. While en route to the job site, ensure that you are following all traffic laws. Do not speed or drive erratically. You cannot talk or text on a cell phone while the vehicle is in operation. You cannot eat while the vehicle is in motion. There is no smoking in or around the vehicle at all times. On the job site. Upon arrival to the job site, find a safe place to park. Cone off the vehicle and conduct a job site inspection so that you can form a plan to ensure safety while delivering a load. Be on the lookout for things such as septic tanks, low power lines, holes, soft sand, uneven grades, etc. Call your supervisor immediately if you are unsure if there is a hazard that poses a problem or the conditions look unsafe for delivery. Do not make a costly mistake because you are in a hurry and missed something important. Double check the job site. If you must drive on someone's property, such as their grass, driveway, or any other place that may cause damage, you must get a release signed by the homeowner or contractor. Call your supervisor and inform them of the situation and let them make the call on how to proceed. Always be respectful of our customers and builders on all job sites. Never discuss any issues that you or RoMac may have with any of our customers. Never discuss any internal matters or pricing issues. If there appears to be a return on the job site, call your manager and inform them that there appears to be a return on the job site and see if they would like for you to do a pickup and bring it back to the lumber yard. Before you begin your return journey to the lumber yard, make sure that your truck, trailer, forklift, and any load you are bringing back are completely secure. back at the yard. Once you have returned to the yard, make sure your truck, trailer, and forklift are clean inside and out. It is common courtesy to clean up after yourself. Do not leave a mess for the next driver. If you bring back a return, contact the yard manager so that you can complete the proper paperwork and find out where he wants you to place the returned material. Make sure all returned merchandise is load checked by a supervisor and all manual return forms are brought directly to the shipping office for processing. Lastly, do a post-trip inspection of the entire vehicle to ensure no damage has been done during the trip. Specialty vehicles. Knuckle boom truck and shingle boom truck. When operating the single boom truck, there are some very important safety checks that must be completed. Always walk the job site before pulling the truck onto the job site. Look for power lines, septic tanks, and any other hazard that may prevent you from safely delivering the shingles. When you deploy the stabilizer feet, ensure they are on a surface that will support the weight. If you are in soft dirt or sand, use a ground plate to spread out the pressure. If you need to pull onto somebody's driveway or grass, you must get a release signed by the homeowner or contractor. You should never ride the belt up to the roof. Anytime you are on the roof, you must anchor and harness off to prevent fall or injury. Anytime you operate a boom truck, you must do so slowly and with caution. Always stay far away from electrical lines. You do not have to touch a line to create an arc of electricity. Beware of electrical lines.
All right, we're here with Darryl Morrow, who has been driving for how long, Darryl?
25 years.
25 years experience. The man is more than qualified to tell you all about the pre-trip safety inspections. Take it away, Darryl.
All right, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to pop the hood of the truck and check the fluids in the belts. And do that, you're going to put your foot here securely, both hands, pull this back, make sure that you've got your stop and it catches. Come around here to the side. You're going to check your oil, you check your radiator fluid, and you're also going to visually inspect your belts to make sure that they're not frayed and that they're all intact and in place. You're going to check all the different hoses to make sure everything is in good working condition and doesn't have any wear or tear or holes in it. While you're in here, you're also going to be looking at your arm couplers for your steering. Make sure everything is in place, your pins are in place, and nothing looks like it's got leaking fluid in it. From there, we're going to come around here to the side of the vehicle. Okay, we're going to open the door, make sure that we turn on the lights and the four-way flashers. So as we're walking around the vehicle, we can check those. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come here behind the vehicle. You're going to check all your glad hands and your hoses to make sure everything is in place and doesn't have any holes or wear marks on it that shows that they would be leaking. And also anything that you can visibly see back here, make sure everything is good. You don't see any leaks on the vehicle. Next thing we're going to do is, as you're walking by your tires, you're going to check your tires to make sure that there's no chunks out of them, that they look in good condition and have good tread. You're also going to check your hubs to make sure that they are intact and that there's no leaking fluid on them. At this point, as you're right here on the vehicle, you need to get underneath the vehicle and physically check that your fifth wheel is intact and your pin is there. You're going to do that with a light and making sure that your pin is securely in place. And while you're here, you're also checking your lights to make sure that your flashers are flashing. All right, and right here, you're going to check your landing gear to make sure that all your screws and nuts are in place and everything looks in good working condition, that your feet are flat and not bent so that if you need to put your trailer down, it won't sink into the ground. You also check your bracing bars to make sure everything is in place and the screws are fastened tightly. Okay, and then as we're walking back, you're just going to making sure that your trailer is in good working order. You get the same thing when you get to your tires here. You're going to physically inspect the tires to make sure that there's no chunks, it's got good tread, everything's in order. You're also going to see down here, you've got see-through glass for your hub oil. You always want to make sure that there's hub oil in there and that there is no visible leaks. As you come back through on this portion of the vehicle, you're going to verify that your hooks are securely hooked and fastened on your bullfrog. And as you come around the back side of it, this is where you're going to make sure that your lights are in functioning order for your four-ways and for your parking brakes. And this side of the vehicle is the same thing. You're going to make sure your hook is completely fastened and secured. And as you come around here, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to check your hub, make sure you've got oil in them and that there are not any leaks. You're also going to check underneath here your hoses, make sure that they're all intact, that there's no wear marks or anything that could cause a leak. As you're coming down through here, same thing, you're checking the side of the trailer to make sure that it's in good functional order. Then you're going to check this side of the truck, make sure that your hubs are all good and there's no leaks. Last thing we're going to do is to check the front tire here. Same thing, make sure that there's no visible leaks and that your tire is in good working condition, that the tread is evenly across and is not worn or cupped. And from now we're going to get in the truck and do the last part of our pre-trip inspection. Okay, now that we're in the truck, one of the first things we're going to do is we would start up the truck and you're going to check all your gauges to make sure your gauges are all functional and working properly. Verify your fuel gauge, that you've got the proper amount of fuel that you're going to need for your day's usage. And then when you start up the truck, one of the first things you're going to do is, with your air brakes both still engaged, you're going to pump the brakes down to make sure that your audible alarm shows up when you get below 60 psi on your air tanks. That is a major thing that you need to know if you're going down the road and losing air. Once that's done, you're going to accelerate your gas a little bit. You're going to make sure your air pressure builds up at a good rate, and then when it is completely built up, you want to hold your foot on the brake and leave it down to make sure that it holds pressure and it is not leaking air anywhere back in the truck system. Now, the next thing you're going to do when you're done with that is you're going to take off your parking brake for your truck and your trailer, and you're going to slowly start moving forward, and you're going to pull down on the Charlie brake to make sure that your brakes on your trailer are functioning properly and that they will help you stop.
All right, Daryl, excellent job.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, sir, for showing us around
Not a
the
problem.
truck.
Anything I can do to help.
All righty. Hello again, Bill Sherrill for RoMac Lumber, and I'm here today with Jeff, who will explain to us what you do after you have done your pre-trip inspection. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good, Bill, thanks. After I do my pre-trip inspection on the truck, I'm going to check out my boom and the other safety devices along this truck. This is one of our shingle trucks, and starting here, I have my safety foot. I'm going to check and make sure that that's in place and that it's locked in place and it's not going to dangle down and nothing's broken. I'm also checking my hydraulic lines, which are make sure that there's nothing leaking and that they look like they're secured in place. I'm also going to look underneath at the actual conveyor belt itself and make sure that there's no cracks or rips or tears. As I come down the truck, I'm going to be looking at the entire boom, all of itself. I'm looking at all my screws, make sure that they're in place, that nothing's missing. I'm also looking to make sure that there's no cracks in it and there's no holes of any kind from where it could have broken at some point during one of the trips. When I get to about here, I like to take a look at my safety harnesses, which is what we have to wear when we're on top of the roof. So what I do, simply I get up here, I just grab my harness and I check my buckle here, make sure that it is secured and that's going to hold me. Make sure there's no rips or tears. Just visually inspect, make sure that everything looks like it's in good condition and nothing's starting to rot or where I even like to take it and buckle it up and make sure that it's locked in place.
Sure.
And pull it off. We also have our safety anchor kit, which will make sure that everything's there, that battery's charged on there, that I got my screws, And then I also have my anchors, which we put into the top of the roof, so that way we can attach our rope to and be able to walk around freely on the roof without being in danger of falling off. I'll also check out the rope, make sure that it's not frayed and torn and no rips anywhere in it. As I come down the line, I like to check my straps, my strap devices. These slide along in here. Make sure that they're in good condition, nothing's broken, torn. Make sure that everything is in operational, because these are what we have to use to strap everything down, so when we are driving down the road, nothing's going to fall off and hit anybody else. Also in these lines, there's screws. I like to make sure that it does not go any further than the screws, so that way it is not going to fall out. As we get all the way down here, I'm going to be checking out the rest of the boom and also our riggers, our outriggers. I'm going to be checking all the hydraulic lines up top and down below. Make sure that there's no puddles of hydraulic fluid that's leaking down anywhere, whether they're underneath the riggers themselves or come around here. I also like to check and make sure that all my hoses are good, there's no cracks or tears, and that there's nothing leaking out of any of them. And they go all the way up to around the side here. Under here, you also have your hydraulic lines and your motors, and make sure that there's no puddles of any hydraulic fluid leaking under there. Once I've done all that, it's time to start her up.
All right, let's fire it up.
Is when we do get to a customer's house and we've evaluated the situation as far as the trees and power lines and everything, before we drive up onto their driveway, we have to get them to sign the waiver saying that they understand that we're driving a heavy piece of equipment onto their driveway. We get them to sign that, and then this gets filed with our paperwork, and we return it to our manager when we get done with the job.
What if the homeowner doesn't happen to be home?
If the homeowner's not home, then we get in contact with the contractor,
Okay.
a person in charge at the job site.
Okay.
If they're not available for whatever reason, then we call our personal managers and get direction from them before we do anything else.
Okay.
Just like starting any of our trucks, clutch is going to go in, we got to turn it on, wait for it to warm up, crank the engine, and then I have to engage the PTO, and that's this device right here. That goes on. Once I release off the clutch, now the PTO is engaged, and now I can go back and check my safety devices on the actual boom itself and make sure everything's operating. All right, so here I have two sets of controls. Up here, I have the controls for the boom, and down here, I have the controls for the outriggers. Simply, one's labeled left, one's labeled right. You pull it down, the outrigger comes down. When that goes down, that'll lift up the truck, and you can move both of them back and forth, so that way you get a nice level plane, and it's gonna help keep the truck stabilized when you're at a house.
Well, now, if you pull into loose gravel or sand, or you're on a surface that you think might be unsturdy, this is going to help a lot? Is there more that you can do? Or
this is definitely going to help. In the situation when we're dealing with loose sand, we have plates or pieces of wood that we can put down underneath the feet, which actually helps spread out and control the weight or distribute the weight.
Okay.
So that way it stays safe.
Gotcha.
That just simply comes back up. And then once it's all the way back up in its upright position, it's done. Then simply come over here, and then you have 4 toggles here for your boom. The second one here controls the arm to actually go up and down. So you push it forward, and that raises the boom.
Do you know how, when this is fully extended, how much length are we talking?
Well, it's a 40-foot boom. So from here all the way down there is actually 40 feet. So if you go all the way up, you're going to be 40 foot in the air.
Okay, so before you even start raising this, you have to make sure that there's nothing up there that you're going to be tearing into, wires or...
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that we do when we actually pull up to a job site. We're going to make sure that there's no low-hanging branches or power lines, and we'll have to maneuver the truck in. In fact, we have to back the truck into the specific job site that we're going to. So yes, we need to make sure there's no power lines or tree branches anywhere that's going to affect the operation of this. We have to be safe.
Okay.
So once that's up, we can move it to the left, we can move it to the right, and then we can also control the height of the actual post itself. Now it goes up and down. And then this one here just controls and turns on
Oh, the conveyor belt.
the conveyor belt
So
itself.
can anyone ride up there on that conveyor belt?
No,
No.
not at all. We have to use
I
the
didn't think
ladders
so.
for that.
I didn't think so.
Also with all that, now I've checked to make sure all that, I just do one more visual look just to make sure that nothing is leaking now that we've actually pumped more hydraulic fluid through all those lines. Once that's done, we're good to go.
Okay.
Once we've done all that, we can simply turn the truck off, but we do need to disengage the PTO before we do that. So just like when you're starting it up, it's just the exact opposite. You push in the clutch, turn it off, release the clutch, then you can turn the truck off.
I guess we got everything. Did we forget anything?
No, sir.
All right,
That's
excellent
it.
job, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
When operating a box truck, you must ensure that you have the load tied to the walls of the truck and that the load is secured with a knot that is easy to untie so you don't have to cut the rope at each delivery. Also, be sure that you stack the load evenly so that the truck is not off balance. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Box trucks have much higher profiles and you can damage the box by trying to drive underneath limbs or low-hanging obstruction. Always check your box height.
So, Robbie, could you tell us about some of the specific safety things we have to be concerned with this style of truck?
Sure. Well, after you complete the daily operational checklist, make sure that your load is secure and evenly stacked in the truck and not off weight. One of the biggest things we have to look for is overhead obstructions, low-hanging branches, low-hanging power lines, low bridges, low overpasses, things like that, because our box truck will catch those while we're driving. It's kind of a big profile across the top of the truck, and it's one of those things that if you hit something, it's going to easily damage our vehicle. The average height, it can't be any higher than 13.6 for our semi.
So actually, it would be smart for the driver to assume that he's at 13.6 at all times.
It's best to go ahead and make that assumption.
Robbie, why don't you show us how to strap down the doors in a box truck?
Okay, well, once I make sure that all of our doors are stacked evenly, the weight's not off center, that's the first thing that we do in the door truck. Next thing I would do is get my rope. I don't want to over tighten this, and I want to tie it in a knot that I can easily untie, because on a job site somewhere, if I don't do that, I'm going to have to cut the rope, and then I'm going to run out of rope for my next delivery. So I'll make sure it's fairly tight. I'm going to come over here. I've tightened it on the other side. I'm basically going to tie a slip knot in it.
That's your preferred knot, the slip knot.
Yep, just like that.
Okay.
And then when I go on the job site to unload the doors, I just pull the string and it comes right back off again. So I'll start from making the loop. So the loop is easy to make. You can just take the rope and put just a simple twist in it. Just like that. Just take the loop right around. Alright, so once I've made my loop and my rope, this end will be attached to the wall on the other side, the opposite side of the doors. You'll string your line across the front of the doors, attach it to the box truck on this side, and you'll bring your rope back to the loop that you've made in the front of the door. Alright, this loop should be somewhere near the front of the door, usually on the right hand side, where you attach it to begin with, to the back of the box truck. So you bring it back through this loop,
Tighten up your slack. You come underneath the 2 ropes, but keep a hold of the first one. Right underneath like this. And then to finish it off, put a little overhand safety in it. Easy to take out when you get to the job site. Take that overhand safety off. Pull the initial line. Rope will come right off and you can take your door off.
When making a delivery with the sand truck, be careful not to overload the truck or the bed won't dump the sand. Ensure that you cover the sand with the sand net before leaving the yard on a delivery. If you have other items to go with the sand, make sure that you flat stack the items and place a pallet on top of them before you leave to secure the material from moving. It is also a good idea to have a roll of visqueen to cover the items you deliver to the job site.
Hello again, Bill Sherrill for RoMac Lumber. I'm standing here with Robbie, and he is about to show us the proper procedures for the sand truck.
Thanks, Bill. So this is our sand truck. It's another one of our specialty trucks here at RoMac. It's designed to take large loads of sand and other material out to the job site. First thing we do is after we do our daily pre-trip inspection on this, completely done, we'll start to load the sand. So pull the truck over, we'll get a load of sand on this thing. It's very important not to overload this with sand. If you do, the truck bed won't dump. After you get your sand completely loaded, a lot of times we have to bring out stucco or sand, other mortar mix or other sand mix for the job site. So we will flat stack a pallet of that on top of the sand and put another pallet on top of that to prevent the material from moving and from our sand cover to rubbing on it. It's important to have that sand cover up here completely pulled over and secured before we take off. If not, sand and debris can fly off of the truck, get on the road, we'll lose material and we'll hit other vehicles on the way. So it's important to make sure we have that good and secure before we leave. Also, before you get out there, it's a good idea to make sure you got a roll of visqueen. Without visqueen, it might rain. That would damage all of our sand products that are bag material to where it could ruin the material, could solidify or harden it up. So it's important to make sure we have that covered. We're in Florida, it rains a lot here. All right, Bill. One of the important things about this truck to know is that when you go onto a job site and you actually raise the truck, you want to get out first and make sure there's no overhead power lines or any obstructions above your head, tree branches or anything like that. Also, before I get on the job site, I want to walk it, make sure that there's no hidden septic tanks or any kind of big dips or anything that I could get in trouble by pulling onto the driveway or job site. That's another thing that's important. If you're going to pull onto a driveway or someone's yard, you got to make sure you get a release sign first before you do that. You can either get it signed by the homeowner or by the contractor. If I can't get a hold of either one of those, I want to call the manager of the store and make sure I get it cleared with him before I actually pull on to the job. So, to start this truck up and to dump the sand, this is how you do it. All right, Bill, next thing we're gonna do is talk about the sand truck, making deliveries. Before I leave the yard, last thing I wanna make sure I do is put my seat belts on. Okay, when I get to the job site, before I do that, I wanna make sure that when I get there, that my overhead is clear. So when I go dump the sand, there's no power lines, there's no branches, there's nothing that this bed is gonna hit on its way up. Before I pull on, I wanna make sure that there's no obstructions on the job site. I'd walk around, make sure there's nothing there. If I have to pull in someone's driveway or I have to pull into their yard, I want to make sure I get a sign release before I do that. Either the homeowner, the contractor, and if I can't get one of those two, I'd call my manager to make sure that they take the appropriate steps so we don't get in any trouble. All right, first thing we're gonna do is start the truck up. Foot on the brake. All right. So, we pull onto the job site, we've made sure everything's clear, we're not going to hit anything with our sand bed. The next thing that I'm going to do is once I get in a position where I know I want to dump the sand, make sure all my pallets offloaded, there's nothing that's going to fall out of the back. So I'd roll the sand shelter up, take all my material off the back, put it onto the ground, cover it with the Visclean. Then I'd pull this truck to where it needs to go to dump the sand. When I'm ready to dump the sand, I'll take the truck, I will put it into the neutral, pull my parking brake all the way, I'll engage my PTO. You can hear the PTO start to whine. My foot is still on the brake just to make a double check, sure. This right here is my PTO operation. It says reverse or raise and forward or lower on the panel. So I'm ready to dump the sand. I'm going to push this button, pull back very gently, slowly. You'll actually hear the bed start to raise. You can hear the pitch change, and it'll start to lift, nice and easy. After it's all the way raised up and all my sand is out, next thing I'm going to do, push it forward, nice and slow. If you slam it forward, this bed is going to slam, it's going to bang, and it could damage it. So you go nice and slow down. Once it's all the way down, I want to give it an extra little push just to make sure the bed is completely seated and it doesn't float while I'm driving down the highway and bang along the back of the truck. After that's done, I can turn my PTO back off, disengage my parking brake, put my truck in drive, back off to the yard I go.
All right, Robbie. Good job. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Happy to show you sand truck operation.
All righty.
A few items that pertain to doors. Delivery racks are to be forklifted and loaded onto a truck or trailer from the side. The forks must be in the provided pockets on the racks. If the rack has off-centered weight and the forks are not in the pockets, the rack will flip off the forklift. Strap down the delivery racks before moving the trailer. The delivery racks can be moved with a forklift from the side or the end. If the rack is lifted from the end, be sure the forks are in the provided pockets. Do not load the curtain side trailer with the delivery racks that are lifted from the ends. The tilt of the racks makes the clearance between the rack and the curtain side too close and risk damage to the curtain seal. The racks can be lifted from the end and loaded onto an open trailer or truck. Be sure to strap the racks to the truck or the trailer. The curtain on the curtain side trailer must be completely closed and strapped before the trailer is moved. Failure to close and properly strap the curtain could result in damage to the curtain during travel. When unloading a box truck or a semi-van trailer with doors that are leaning and secured to the side of the box or trailer, be aware of the direction that the vehicle is leaning. If the container is on an uneven surface and is leaning away from the side that the doors are secured to, so that when the straps are released, the doors would fall. Move the truck or trailer to make sure that the load will not shift. If the container is leaning in such a way that the load falls over when the straps or ropes are released, the doors or door units could fall over and crush the person unloading.
So I've done my DOT inspection, and now I'm going to demonstrate how to open up the soft sided curtain. First of all, there's this little cable right here that locks this lever in place. Just got to move that out of the way. There's a locking pin on this side. You got to disengage. That disengages this rod right here that holds the curtain in. You turn it, the rod, to loosen the curtain out. You lift up on it, and it comes out. You got your straps that run all along the trailer that help hold the curtain in place. The buckle straps, just gonna click them like that. You go all down the trailer until you open it up. To open it up, you just slide it. And now to close it, just grab this rod here, down at the bottom, pull it this way. You have a pin on the top and a pin on the bottom. So you're going to take this rod and stick it in the pin on the top first. You're going to take it and crank this shaft over and tighten this curtain up as tight as you can get it. Take this pin, engage it, put that back in the cable, and then go to strap it back down. Now we're going to demonstrate how to open and close the back. You got a pin right here that you have to lift up that disengages this bar. Pull it open, take the rod just like the front, lift it up, and that releases that. And then undo your straps and slide it just like you do in the front. And to close it, same thing, grab it by the bottom, pull it, you got a pin in the top, pin in the bottom, always put it in the top first. Close it, take your pin, lift it up, make sure the pin slides back down and locks in place. And always make sure you strap the curtain back down. I'm now going to demonstrate how to pick up one of our door racks and properly place the door rack on our soft-sided curtain trailer. You got forklift pocket holes in the bottom of the racks. You got to make sure that you put the forks in them pocket holes. If you do not do that, the rack will tip and fall over off of the forklift. Make sure that you're all the way in to the rack. Now we're going to place the rack on top of the trailer. Make sure you're clear of the bottom of the trailer and make sure you're clear of the top of the trailer. Now I'm going to place the rack down, slowly pull out, and now demonstrate how to strap the rack to the trailer. Now we're going to use these straps here to strap the rack down to the trailer. Take your 1x, release your strap. Take your 1x, put it in the buckle of the strap, and just slide it through to the other side. Make sure you do both pocket holes. Again, put your buckle on the 1x, fish it through to the other side. And my partner over there is going to hook it to the other side of the trailer. You're going to use your ratchet bar to strap it down. Do so with the second one. And that is how you properly strap a rack to our soft-sided curtain trailer. Now to properly take the rack off of the trailer, we're going to have to undo our straps Take your ratchet bar, release the locking mechanism. My partner over there is going to unhook it for me. Just got to fish the hooks back through the other side of the rack and get it. Make sure that you put your straps back up. You don't want your straps laying in here when you try to pull your forklift up. You might run over the buckle and smash it, or you might get it tied up in the wheels and tires of the forklift. We are now going to get on the forklift and take the rack off of the trailer. Always make sure you put your safety belt on. As when you're loading the rack, you always want to make sure you put both forks in both pocket holes of the rack. Watch your top, watch your bottom. Now you have your braces here that hold your roof in place. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're there so the roof, to support the roof of the trailer. They get in the way of loading, say, 16-foot material, lumber that we load a lot. So you don't have 16 foot in between. So you may have to undo these. Only undo one at a time. If you undo this one and that one, the roof will sag too much and it'll cause damage to the roof. Same with the same side. You don't want to do this one or that one at the same time. Only one at a time. You have a cotter pin here. You just want to release the cotter pin. See where the bar splits? You're just going to take one side. You're going to open it like so. You got 2 holes here. You got a hole up there. You're going to twist it and it's going to drop down. Move it out of the place. Put your material on. After your material is loaded, you would grab it and put it back into place. You want to hold it sideways. Turn it like so. Put it back in the holes. Put your cotter pin back in place.
Truss roll-off truck. Inspect load. Load should be no higher than 8 feet off of the highest portion of the trailer and no wider than 12 feet unless an escort has been set up. Load can only hang over on the passenger side of the truck. Inspect all rollers on the trailer to make sure they are in locked position. Inspect all white banding of all trusses to make sure they are tight and all trusses are secured to the load. If the load is incorrect, get with the loader to rearrange. You are not to rearrange the load. Delivery paperwork. Check the package over for the delivery material list. Directions, layout, and engineering. Check off all items on the delivery list, load trusses, hangers, valley material, and LVLs. Then sign and date. If the load is incorrect, Get the loader to correct. You are not to correct the load yourself. Flagging load. If the load is a wide load, signage could be at the front and rear of the truck, and a red flag should be placed on both sides of the front bumper and rear trailer bumper, in total of 4 flags. In addition, a red flag should be placed on the furthest truss overhanging on the passenger side, and a red flag placed on the furthest point overhanging the rear of the trailer. Secure the complete load to the trailer with the 4-inch yellow straps. Double check that no one is on the other side of the trailer when throwing the straps over. Straps should remain flat to the load, no twists. If you need to get on the load, use the steps on the tractor, then step on the wheel and get on by the headboard. If you need to reach elsewhere on the trailer, this can be done by backing up a forklift to the trailer and using the forklift steps and rear weight to get onto the trailer. Use a forklift only with a loader present. Only step on trusses that have a solid base, stable and dry. Do not climb to the top of the load. Attach the strap on the other side against solid trusses, not 1 or 2 tops that when tightening will bend or break and snap the trusses. In this case, feed the strap down through the stack to get a solid base, then tighten all straps. Take a picture of the load before leaving the yard. During transit, pull over and check the straps and load every 30 minutes. When hauling a wide load, always be aware of your surroundings. You are driving the biggest vehicle on the road. Take your time, slow down. Check your wide turns for small vehicles and use your turn signals sooner than normal, giving others a chance to react. Stay off your phone. Upon arrival to the job site, find a safe place to park. Cone off the vehicle and conduct a job site inspection so that you can form a plan to ensure safety while delivering a load. If you must drive on someone's property, such as their grass, driveway, or any other place that may cause damage, you must get a release signed by the homeowner or contractor. Call your supervisor and inform them of the situation and let them make the call on how to proceed. Always be respectful of our customers and builders on all job sites.
I hope you found this safety video very helpful. Personal protective equipment is required here at RoMac Lumber. From your hard hat, to ear protection around noisy machinery, safety glasses, gloves, safety vests, and steel-toed shoes are required in all production areas and most warehouse areas. Please report accidents immediately, and RoMac Lumber is a drug-free workplace, so if you have an accident you will be required to take a drug test. Plus, random drug testing is required for all DOT drivers and employees. Safety is our main concern here at RoMac Lumber, and if you find an unsafe condition, please report it immediately. Thank you, and please be safe.